Hi, I'm Mukesh from finbyz. So before getting into ERPNext, I was a banker working in treasury, helping exporters and importers in their finance and forex transactions. After 8 years of successful career in banking and finance, I realized my true interest lies in the IT side, and I applied a lot of jobs actually. But a former banker like me always seems like a misfit to a more casual IT industry, so they declined. The eventual result was I had to start my own company to pursue my interest. That's how finbyz was born. Today, after 10 years, uh, we have 30 plus experts working in various applications. We provide solutions over 12 different countries, and we have built 150 plus different applications. Our core services are all in ERPNext, implementation, support, resource augmentation, and recently we started a lot of things working on AI side, like a lot of you might be exploring. We are also exploring this space very closely to implement a lot of solutions in ERP. So today we will talk about the EXIM modules. So what happens with all of us, whenever we start our journey into any new thing, we approach the people whom we know. So I also did the same thing. I approached the people I knew. Unfortunately or fortunately, I knew only exporters and importers. That's where the problem started. So I shown this particular solution to a lot of uh, known people, and they turned out to be exporters, and they like the solution. It solves a lot of problems. CRM, manufacturing, accounting, everything is superbly fine, and they were pleased with the solution. But then they said, well, this is all good, but it can't even build my first test, which is the performer invoice. I can't even create a performer invoice of export because it doesn't even have the basic fields which I need in this solution. So it's like having a Ferrari, but not having even the steering wheel of it. So we had to build one. Even in the demo, we added certain fields, and we these fields allowed him to generate the performer invoice. So we added the print format, and eventual outcome was he was able to see what he wanted to see, which was the performer invoice. So we convinced him, and we felt happy. We converted the client, and that's how the other things started. Now it was never ending list of things which we had to do to make this particular implementation work, like any other implementation. So these are all the things we accomplish to make sure that the implementation goes successful. This is all apart from all the pain which we go through for the manufacturing of the things. So this is purely on the export side which we basically solved. So first thing, the execution gaps. Anyone is aware about how letter of credit or contract terms in the exports? No? Oh, yeah, few guys are there. Okay, great. So these export terms are like larger than Indian wedding invitations also. You actually have lot of instructions, lot of details what are to be complied, and somebody has to read it and remember it for 2 or 3 months till the time export contract gets executed. So this is where the problem comes in, and the person who is reading, there are two main things which he is supposed to capture. So first is the documents required and the specifics which are to be mentioned in each documents. So negotiations of any documents in the export import business deals with the documents, not with the goods. Whatever you are basically sending out is not important. What you have mentioned in the document is the only thing which will be checked for making the payment cleared for your exports. So somebody who is reading, the problem was to note down. So we created a checklist kind of a thing where he can write down letter of credit number and other details in the system. And these details will also include the documents which are required. And each document has to mention certain things. Let's say the shipment should not be from Iranian flag or anything. Those things have to be also captured into this particular form. Now, when the invoice is made, it is shown as a list to the other person as a checklist to verify that this is not making this things which are in the contract are being followed at the time of invoicing. So you're making a person responsible for making sure that the responsibility lies with him to check this, and he checks this checkbox, and this made the errors go down for them and penalties reduce. So contract was done. Now the next part is, according to the contract, you have to make a lot of documents. The document list was also done. Now how do you create the documents from the system? And for each shipment, you have to create these many documents. These are just few, but in certain cases, they are going even beyond that. And all those documents should be generated. So earlier to ERPNext, what they had to do was they were copy pasting the details of the invoice into multiple Word files and the Excel files to make these documents out of that. We stopped that copy paste Olympiad games by introducing ERPNext, where they add all these things into single place, which is an Exim, where you fill out all the details. It also structures your data, like container number, your agents details, your marks and numbers, and all the things are basically getting into the structured data, which can also generate various reports. Not only that, it also generates all the print formats which you needed out of any system. So these print formats are, certain things are pretty standard, can be used by anybody, and like custom and commercial invoice is something which you can mold in like any other ERPNext solution to match with the customer's requirement. So in India, exports and imports also get benefits from the government as a roadmap and duty drawback. Earlier, before this implementation, they used to forget claiming this. It's like leaving the dessert on the table while making the export. So you are not going to get those benefits if you don't claim it. So what we introduced was define these rates into the item itself, how much road tape or duty drawback benefit is available for that specific item. When you are making the export invoice, system will remember that and it will capture the total amount of receivable against this export and drawback and road tape pay. And JV is marked as receivable from the invoice itself. So what will happen is your receivable is booked and you will not be forgetting it. We also created documents to make this claim. So road tape claim, whenever you are making, it is also going to remember for which invoices you have made the claim, which invoices are pending. So accordingly, you can create the output wherever it is missing out, you can basically put this particular claim. So you made your export, you created the export documents, and eventually now the final output is expected is you will be receiving the payments. But receiving the payment in export takes a lot of months. Sometimes it takes 90 days, even 180 days. And till that time, you have the exposure risk. So currency can fluctuate. Uh, the currency rates are not stable. They will keep fluctuating and you want to hedge this risk. Generally, they would prefer some forward contract with the bank or a future contract to hedge the currency risk. So how forward contract works is basically they locked in your exports at particular rate, and that rate is the rate which will be getting money converted whenever you receive your receivables. So payment entry, that particular forward contract has to be utilized. So whatever the amount you have booked, that has to be reduced by the amount which for which you have received the payment. Wherever you have not received the payment is something you will be cancelling the forward contract. So forward contract, you can enter into the ERPNext all the details, the rate of booking and everything. This also creates another audit trail for you. Whenever somebody booked a forward contract, what was the market rate and what was the rate at which he booked, so that you can compare it both. So we can also fetch the live rates for this forward contract if it is required. So there are a lot of APIs which provide this live rates, which can also be useful for the exporters or importers of decent size. These forward contracts will be then used at the time of payment entry. So whenever export payment is received, this particular table will open up where you can use one or more forward contracts, and average rate will be used as a conversion rate of that particular export shipment. And payment, this average rate will define how much gain and loss you will be booking out of that particular consignment. So we now receive the payment for the export, and let's say you also had an import along with it. So now you don't want to pay the duties on the imports because government allows you to import without paying the duties when you're doing the exports. And this happens in India, where this is also again something which is very specific to Indian context, where advanced authorization license are issued, and against these licenses they can declare this is the amount of export I'm going to do against this particular license, and this is the amount I will be importing against this license of these items. So this is something they used to manage into the Excel files. The challenge was sometimes their team will overutilize any license. If they overutilize the license on the export side, they let go the duty drawback and roadmap benefits. So this kind of a loss making deal. And if they utilize less, then penalties will be imposed on them. So it has to be utilized exactly. How do you make sure that it utilizes exactly? And this utilization also changes the documents which we are creating at the time of export. So how do you manage these both things? You manage these both things by introducing advanced authorizations in the system, and you select that license at the time of export and import so that a license gets consumed within the system. So right now there is no import over there. If purchase selects this particular license number, automatically the import is updated into the system against that particular row of advanced authorization license. Same way on the export also they can select this particular license, and that license will be utilized for the export, and that will also come against the declaration which we have given earlier. And system stops you from overutilizing it. So anytime you are trying to overutilize it, system will say no, you can't utilize more than that because this is the maximum amount which is available against this license. So you save yourself from the penalties in that way. So what we covered is the whole cycle of export and import. First we created the pro forma invoice, then we got the contract from the customer which was also entered in the system. Against that we created the export documents which follows the contract terms. The export benefits were ensured that we received, before which they were missed out, now they are not getting missed. Forward contract ensured that currency is hedged and you can manage your risk through the system only. And advanced authorization license, if you are using, if you have import as well, then that also matches with your exit declaration and you don't face any penalties over there. So this is the overall EXIM module which we have developed. There are certain more features which are also there, like BRC management and import related documents management. So those things are also in the part of the EXIM which we have developed. These all apps are available to download. I mean, we have also segregated these apps given the fact certain things do not apply overseas. We have created forward contract and some other documents separately as well. So if you want to have the app separately, you can also do that. And if you want to have the whole app and explore it, that is also available in the first place, which is the GitHub link. So I'm open for questions if you have any, and brochure is also available if you want to see the products. Yeah.
Thank you for this presentation. I want to ask you, Mukesh, did you ever try to enhance on this system to make it like a trade finance system? Since you are covering all the party and you are doing a lot and you have a good background as a banker,
Yes.
so I think you have most of the trade finance functions. It's already mentioned in your application.
Yes. So, in what point of view you want to see the trade finance? So, on the point of view of exporters, it is definitely there. But if I change the perspective of the person, let's say a banker, then that particular feature is yet not there. Given the fact they have to manage multiple exporters and importers and their documents. If we have to build, is it possible? 110% it is possible. But as of now, this app's perspective is the exporter who is using it rather than the finance banks and all.
But I think you need the same function,
Yeah,
same
exactly
core
same
function.
function.
The only
Exactly
thing that you need to add just multi-customers.
Yeah, exactly same functions. That should be right.
And you didn't offer it to any banks.
Unfortunately not. We can definitely try together if you wish to.
I wish.